Hello, Americans. I'm Kenton McNall. It's Constitution time. Today is December 30th, 2020. One more day left in this year that has seen so much that so many Americans have never seen before. Not just a pandemic, not just the election, but all that's been involved with both of those things for so long now and continues on. But we'll get to the topic of our conversation this evening in just a moment. I know that I've mentioned this before, probably a couple of times. I find myself doing that more and more as I get older. But I'm often struck by what an incredible prognosticator George Orwell was when he wrote his epic 1984. And I've been really noticing that in the media over the last several weeks. In the book 1984, and if you haven't read it, you really should, or reread it if you read it in 5th grade. One of the things that happens is that the main character basically is employed by a Ministry of Information and spends most of his time literally rewriting history. The society involved is at war with Eurasia at the beginning of the book. But as often happens, they will suddenly get an order that says, okay, we're not at war with Eurasia, we never were. Now we're at war with East Asia. And literally, this army of people in the Ministry of Information will go through and rewrite all the history that said that we were ever at war with Eurasia and we're suddenly at war with East Asia. And as I watch some of the news outlets, that literally seems like what's going on. It's no longer about Russia. All of a sudden, it's all about China. And anyone associated with China, anyone who has somebody they work with who's from China or contacts in China is suddenly under the microscope, which I see, frankly, as nothing more than turnabout is fair play for all the things that happen related to Russia. The one thing about Russia, though, is there's no debate about that. The Mueller report is not the only source that said that Russia interfered with our 2016 election. The Senate Intel Committee themselves stated unequivocally that they interfered with our election and that there was probably contact between Russia and the campaign. So it's really extraordinary to see this happen right before my eyes. When I read about it as a kid and later as an adult as well, and thought to myself, that could never happen in our society. And it made me think what an incredible foresight George Orwell had to see this coming. Because during his lifetime, yes, television existed, but it was in its infancy, as was advertising and all of the things that grew over the years to the model that we have now that's driven so much by social media. For him to foresee what could happen, the level of control that the media could have, especially when tied in with government, was a very, very amazing thing. And now we find ourselves living in it just 60 or 70 short years later. Anyway, I continue to be struck by that every day, and so I'll more than likely bring it up again as well. I hope that you're all having wonderful holidays out there. We had a very limited holiday in terms of the number of family members that we would normally be around, but it was still terrific. And I hope that you also have had a great holiday. Peaceful transition of power is one of the things that in my lifetime has never, ever been a question. It's just never come up that there might be anything but a peaceful transition of power from one administration to the next, whether it was the end of a second term of an incumbent president or the end of a first term, which has happened at least 3 times in my lifetime. Jimmy Carter, George Bush 41, and now with Donald Trump. But it's very much at question, has been very much at question with this president. And it goes to the heart of our Constitution and is a very apt topic for Constitution time, and one of the reasons that we've talked about it several times. It certainly appears that at least some of what we have talked about and to some extent foresaw in earlier episodes will be coming about just one short week from today. Next Wednesday, January 6th, will not be a simple, straightforward, not even in the news event in the joint houses of the Senate and House of Representatives. There are all kinds of good things planned. I shouldn't say that. I say that tongue in cheek. There are all sorts of things planned, apparently, by the right for that event. And what's confirmed, I think, is that there will most definitely be objections to some of the electors, if not many of the electors, because every objection can take, multiple hours to resolve. And who knows what the plan might be there or why. It could just be so that they get some extra time in front of the camera to say whatever they want to say, 5 minutes at a time. Or it could be something deeper. Discussions have taken place regarding the role of the vice president as the president of the Senate, and we spoke about that on this show last week. What stretch of the imagination and stretch of the rules they might try to bring about to say, here's what Pence can do. One representative, Mr. Louis Gohmert, who's been a fairly questionable figure in the news over the last few months, most notably as a carrier of COVID, who was in his committee without a mask, spreading COVID to his fellow congressmen. He's now in court trying to assert and trying to ask the court to literally change the law so that the vice president can declare the president to be the president-elect and to get a second term. And I don't know where these flights of fancy or imagination come up. Perhaps they're just hoping something will stick. But I want to make a strong statement that I hope that everyone on all sides of the aisle remember these people and what they attempted to do, which in my mind is nothing short of overthrowing our form of government, and that they hold them accountable in the only meaningful way that they can be held accountable by civilized people under our form of government, which is to not vote for them next time and to get them out of office. I do hope that there is that ramification for the long list of people that have supported these efforts to back the completely baseless claims of our current president that there has been some massive fraud, yet that there is no evidence for, and that no court will even hear in their 50-plus lawsuits. You know, something that's that significant, that the wrongdoing that they claim has happened, someone would be able to present some evidence. Someone would be able to say, here's enough for you, Your Honor, to hear this case. And they can't even get that far. So unless they're saying there's a massive conspiracy in every single branch of the government, in every single state, on both sides of the aisle in every single state, there is no basis for this, which means that it is a pure fabrication designed to overthrow our form of government. And it is so important that we hold the people who attempted to do this accountable for their actions. Because if we don't, why shouldn't they just do it again? You know, maybe they're enjoying it. Maybe they'll just enjoy doing it again. Or maybe next time they'll be more successful than I hope they will be this time. There is also reports that the incumbent president has called upon the right-wing edges of his support to be in Washington, D.C. on January 6th and to be prepared for a quote-unquote wild night. And reports that some of those groups have actually arrived in Washington, D.C., are staying at the various hotels, including reportedly the Trump Hotel, And I sincerely, sincerely hope that those reports are completely wrong and that that is not happening. Because if any incumbent president called upon the American people to be ready for violence when our electoral process is coming to a conclusion, if he doesn't get the result he wants, there would, again, have to be serious ramifications for that. And as so many things that have happened step by step by step in this process, we had fears, we had concerns. This could have happened, that could have happened. But the American people that are responsible for the elections have steadfastly just simply done their job. And I will keep saying that again and again because I'm so proud of the people that have done that. And so proud that some of those things that could have happened were not allowed to happen by people that simply stood firm and did their job. Even people that before the election I would say I was not a fan of, like the governor of Georgia, Mr. Kemp, who is now under attack by the very president that he so steadfastly supported before because he refuses to do the wrong thing in his election, and he deserves a lot of credit for that, as does his Secretary of State. I also have no doubt that they are partisan politicians. They are absolutely on the right, and we're absolutely behind the president until he asked them to do an obviously and completely wrong thing. And then they stood up as Americans and did the right thing, and good on them. And that's happened all across this country, state after state, jurisdiction after jurisdiction. So we need to be ready for fireworks next Wednesday. We need to be ready to stand up and do the right thing as well. And the folks involved in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, and the Vice President need to be ready to do the right thing. And I hope that they are. And in the end, I believe that they will. But let's remember those names of those who don't, who attempt to do this very, very wrong thing. We live in a great country, but I started this show because our form of government is under attack and does need our help. And when this crisis has passed, as it will, I hope that we do not retreat back into our safer world, because our world is not going to be safe for a while for many reasons, and forget that this help is needed. But we need to shore up our democracy and our Constitution. We need to examine what's happened and say, what can we do to prevent it from happening again? What can we do to ensure that even if there is a great deal of dissatisfaction with some of the ways that our government works, that does not devolve into what it devolved into for the last 4 years. And I think that's a very important process that hopefully many good Americans will participate in organizing, in creating a way for us to move forward to get those changes made. All right, we are in the middle of a holiday season, and again, for the next few days, I won't see, but I will be talking to you next week on Constitution Time. And after, hopefully, January 6th, I will be making a decision on the format of this program and how it will move forward. This is our 25th show since we started, and we didn't quite do one a day through the election, but we weren't far from it, and we've done fewer since then. But I think that this is a good way to talk about our Constitution and some of the changes that can be made. Just regular people to regular people. As I said in my very first show, I don't know that much more, probably don't know anymore at all about these issues than any regular person that's watching the show does. But I think that I personally get a lot more out of just talking to regular people in America about these issues than anybody that's an expert, although experts can bring a lot of good information to the table, of course. So I will look forward to seeing you on future Constitution Time shows, and we'll see you next week as we go through one more last step in this strange election process. Be well, Americans. Take care. Please protect yourself and your family from COVID, and we'll see you soon.